In 1492, the world as we know it was changed as Christopher Columbus landed on the Central American shores, spurring the colonization and the creation of the modern-day world as we know it. The British also heavily profited from Christopher Columbus landing on the Central American shores because they spurred colonization in North America. One of those colonies being the lost colony of Roanoke. Today, I will be teaching you about the history of the lost colony, the speculations and what happened to the missing settlers, and the cultural significance of the colony in modern times. The lost colony is actually the second version of the colony of Roanoke. The first version was established in 1585 by John White. John White, however, failed in his first colony, so in 1587 he moved to a different location to start what we now know as the lost colony of Roanoke. However, they ran into the same kinds of complications that they did in the first colony. A lack of food, lack of farmable land, lack of supplies, and poor relations with the Native American tribes that surrounded them. Later in 1588, John White decided to sail back to England in order to get more supplies so that he could come back and help his settlers. Well, what was supposed to originally have been a 2-month journey ended up being a 2-year journey, as he was not able to return until 1590 because of the Anglo-Spanish War. When John White returned, he found a heavily fortified but completely barren settlement, as every single villager and every single settler was gone, and the only thing that was there was the carving of the word Croatoan into a tree near a palisade. This asks the question, well, what exactly happened to the missing settlers? And that's my second point today. There are many speculations about what happened, being from the magic spaghetti monster all the way to they just died because they couldn't live there. And one of the most popular theories is that once the villagers and settlers ran out of supplies and weren't able to do anything for themselves, they left the colony of Roanoke and integrated with the Croatoan villagers. That's where the big speculation about what the word Croatoan meant. But instead, the Croatoan Native Americans happened to have a really bad relationship with the Roanoke villagers, which makes this theory not very likely, as well as the next one. Most people believe that the villagers and the Croatoan natives actually got into kind of a head-on-head situation because of their poor relations. But that doesn't really make sense either, because when John White came back to the camp, there were no signs of a struggle. All of the belongings were missing, and that wouldn't really make sense for the Croatoan natives because they were a largely nomadic people. The last theory is aliens. While this may not be very probable, it is still pretty interesting to think about because nobody really knows what happened to all of these settlers. Because no one knows what happened, it's kind of fun to theorize, hey, maybe there are aliens out there and maybe they just had some kind of interest in a 1588 dying British colony. But who knows? My last point today is about the cultural significance in modern day times of this Roanoke colony. The first we can see is in the AHS Season 6, or American Horror Story, of Roanoke. That season demonstrated a documentary style of filming about all the mysterious happenings of the colony of Roanoke after John White left. The two other references to the history and colony of Roanoke include The Twilight Zone, in which Rod Serling credits the mystery of Roanoke as being one of his main factors in bringing upon the Twilight Zone in 1959, as well as the 1999 television miniseries by Stephen King called Storm of the Century. Both of those use Roanoke as kind of a demonic or spiritual term as to bring about evil creatures. So, Today we've learned about the history of Roanoke, we've learned about what may or may not have happened to the settlers, and lastly about the modern day theorization and the modern day use of Roanoke in popular culture. So now that you know all this, I think it's safe to say that you're going to spend a little bit of time wondering what exactly happened to the settlers. I know I do.